Hello, I'm Clark Crawford, and welcome back to the latest edition of Clark Crawford Sports. Talking Astros baseball, of course, here on Clark Crawford Sports, as I have all season long since a little bit in spring training in the beginning of the 2024 season. Talking Astros baseball here on my channel, as I'm a big Astros fan for those of you new to the channel. I'm going to dive right into your Astros versus Blue Jays series recap, along with your Astros versus Twins series preview. But first, a couple quick little injury updates, and it starts with Luis Garcia. He had his second rehab start since his Tommy John surgery last year, and the Astros right-hander pitched for Corpus Christi. He went an inning and a third. His fastball hit 94 miles per hour, throwing 21 of 31 pitches for strikes. His stat line, in my opinion, really doesn't matter because, well, it doesn't matter. You're on rehab starts. The most important thing is he comes out of it feeling good and healthy. And number two is building his pitch count up so he can pitch at the major league level. Hopefully his first start, get 60, 75 pitches in, something around those numbers. So Garcia, this is a second rehab start. Sometime last week, he threw in the Florida Complex League with one inning, did pretty well, throwing, I believe it was about 15 pitches. So Garcia, this is his second rehab start. I expect him to have at least two more, if not three more, to build his pitch count up to at least 65 to 75 range, maybe even up to 80 to get him ready for a major league start later this season. And then also injury updates. It does not sound like Victor Caratini, Justin Verlander, or Kyle Tucker will be ready until after the All-Star break. So if you don't already know, the Astros have 3 games against the Twins this weekend in Minnesota. They're off on Monday, and then they play the Miami Marlins for 3 at home Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then they face the division rival, state rivalry, Texas Rangers, Battle of the Silver Boot next weekend at home to conclude the first half of the MLB season, headed into the All-Star break. So that's a little bit of news there. It doesn't sound like any of the 3 will be ready until after the All-Star break, but hopefully either right out of the All-Star break or, within that next series after the first series coming out of the All-Star break, but we'll see. So that brings us right into the Astros versus Blue Jays. If you don't already know, well, I'm going to give it to you here. The Astros took 3 of 4 to the Blue Jays, and that began on Monday. They spoiled Canada Day, which was outstanding. Canada has a different holiday. Ours is 4th of July. Theirs is Canada Day, which is July 1st. The Astros spoiled Canada Day, as I mentioned, 3-1. Hunter Brown pitched 6 innings. Jeremy Pena hits a homer along with Yordan Alvarez, and the Astros win 3-1. At the time, it was their 10th win in 11 games. Hunter Brown has been phenomenal. We found out a couple of days ago that Hunter Brown, unfortunately, got robbed of Pitcher of the Month. It was a tragedy. I mean, come on. These voters are ridiculous. Are they still holding 2017, the quote-unquote cheating scandal against the Astros? I don't think so, but it kind of brings it into question. What if they still are on some of the votes? But nonetheless, Hunter Brown had a phenomenal month of June, and he continued it in July. 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned, and 5 strikeouts. He did have 3 walks, which was a tad concerning, but the trouble he pitched into early in the first 2 innings, he was phenomenal in the final 4 innings because he had about roughly 50 or so pitches after 2 innings, and to get through 6, a lot of pitchers barely make it through 4 after that outing. And then Yariel Rodriguez, his mound opponent, was pitching a no-no for a little while there. I believe it was through 5 innings until Jeremy Pena it was through 4 innings, and then Jeremy Pena hit the 5th inning homer off of Rodriguez. He had his best outing as a major leaguer, 6 2/3, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. He was pitching his tail off as this was a low-scoring game. Both teams only had 4 hits, but the Astros scored 3, and Toronto only scored 1. Josh Hader recorded his 13th save as well, as Yordan Alvarez's 2-run homer in the 9th inning ended up being crucial because Josh Hader gave up a solo home run in the bottom of the 9th inning, which without the Yordan Alvarez homer, well, you would have been in a world of hurt and had to go into extra innings and maybe even lose the game. So the Astros took game one 3-1. Unfortunately, Tuesday's outcome was the opposite as Spencer Arrighetti blew up a bit and Toronto took the game 7-6. Astros legend George Springer hits a 3-run homer, and his teammate Spencer Horwitz added a solo homer as Toronto held on to win 7-6. The Astros at one point they gave up 1 in the first, 4 in the third, and 2 in the fourth for the Toronto 7 runs. And then the Astros stormed back for 5 in the fifth, 1 in the eighth. But unfortunately for them, it was not enough. As Spencer Arrighetti was not sharp all game. He briefly, barely, he gets through 4 innings, throwing 89 pitches, gives up 6 earned runs out of his 7. He was not good, but the bullpen of Luis Contreras and Seth Martinez, 2 innings apiece, were lights out for the most part, other than 1 walk. They give up no other base runners in the 4 combined innings they pitched, striking out a total of 5 Blue Jays. The Astros just weren't very good in this one until later, but unfortunately, they just couldn't quite string together enough later in the game. Their big 5th inning, Cesar Salazar singled in John Singleton, Altuve singled in Pena, and then Alvarez hit a big 3-run home run. To this point, he had homered in back-to-back games, and then Jake Myers had an RBI in the 8th inning, but unfortunately, it was not enough. Now, the big question was the 9th inning. Jeremy Pena doubles to lead off the 9th off the top of the wall in left center, a little bit more, and that ball is gone, probably another 3 to 5 feet, and maybe another foot or 2 of height, obviously. And then Joe Loperfido strikes out. A lot of people were criticizing at the time Joe Espada's move in the 9th inning some people wanted him to pinch hit Dubon, but a right-handed pitcher was on the mound, so I agree with the decision not to pinch hit Dubon for Loperfido. Loperfido strikes out, and then Trey Cabbage pinch hits for Cesar Salazar, who was 1 for 2 with a run scored and a big RBI single to get the scoring started. I don't necessarily love or hate the decision. I thought it was interesting, but at the same time, Cesar Salazar's had a nice, 15, 20 at-bats now, but it's not like Cesar Salazar is Yordan Alvarez out there. He's not going to be a 10-time potential all-star that Alvarez could be in his career. And so, yes, Salazar taking the bat out of his hands was an interesting move. But like I said, I don't love it. I don't necessarily hate it. I think Espada was taking a big swing there. And unfortunately, Trey Cabbage chased the pitch out of the zone for strike 3 and struck out. Trey Cabbage has been solid for the Astros, but what else are you going to do? You're missing Victor Caratini. You're missing Kyle Tucker. And it also doesn't guarantee that Cesar Salazar would have come through. So it's kind of one of those moves of, I don't know, maybe Salazar does come through with a big single or something, but let's not act like Cesar Salazar is a guy that everyone is going to pinch hit for or not pinch hit for. So I thought it was an interesting move. I don't think it's a big deal, but nonetheless, the Astros lost the game, and then Jose Altuve flew out to end the game, who was 3 for 5 in this game, and Yordan Alvarez was 2 for 3 with that big 3-run home run. Now moving on to Wednesday's game, the Astros came back in a big way to smash the Toronto Blue Jays 9-2 as Yordan Alvarez. I think we need to start considering him for mayor of Toronto. This guy is incredible. He hits 3 homers in the first 3 games of the series in 3 straight days. And going back to last year, he has 7 home runs in Toronto when the Astros have visited. The guy just hits the cover off the baseball. So the recap of this game is the game was tied 1-1 headed into the 6th. Then it was tied 2-2 after the 6th. And then the Astros have a 4-run 7th and a 3-run 8th inning to win the game 9-2. It was huge. In the 7th inning, Altuve singled to right. McCormick scored. Diaz singled with Altuve and Singleton scoring. Pena was hit by a pitch. Alvarez scored. And then in the eighth, Alvarez doubled and Singleton scored. Diaz singled in Bregman. And then Myers knocked in Alvarez for the 9 runs. And the sixth inning was Yordan Alvarez's solo home run to right field, his 3rd consecutive game with a home run. And then on the pitching side, Ronel Blanco, 5 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned with 4 strikeouts, 99 pitches. He was okay. He definitely had his fair share of struggles in this one, though Ronel Blanco did what you ask of any starting pitcher when they're first going out there. Number one job, keep your team in the game. That's the most important part of the starting pitcher's job, at least in my mind. Keep your team in the game, at least give them a chance to win, even if you don't have your best stuff that day. And then Taylor Scott throws 7 pitches, gets the win in this one, and the Astros take it. The bullpen gave up no runs in this one. Brian Abreu, Brian King, and Rafael Montero finish out the game. And as I mentioned, the Astros won 9-2. That brings us to yesterday, which was Thursday, in the July 4th game, where the Astros take down the Toronto Blue Jays 5-3. And in this one, Framber Valdez had his fair share of struggles, especially early, as both teams were off to a hot start, scoring 3 runs apiece in the first inning. Luckily for the Astros, after the first and really the second inning where he had his fair share of struggles, well, Framber settles down, goes 6 innings, gives up the 3 runs, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. He gave up 9 hits, but Framber gets the win, and Josh Hader gets his 14th save of the year. Nina mentioned that as well. Josh Hader had a extremely slow start to the year of even picking up saves, so it's a pretty good sign that he has 14, and he's been locking down the 9th inning for the most part all season long, other than his first couple weeks of struggles. But anyways, the Astros win this game 5-3. As, like I said, they had the hot start in the first inning. They could have even scored more runs in the first inning. They had bases loaded for Yainer Diaz, and he was only able to bring in 1 run. Singleton brought in 2. Dubon brought in the 4th run, and Jeremy Pena's 7th home run of the year to left field in the 7th inning brought home the 5th run, which was a nice added insurance run. Yordan Alvarez did not homer in this one. He did not pick up a hit. He scored a run, walked twice, and was hit by a pitch as well. I mean, they were throwing inside on Yordan, and they were scared to pitch to him as well. And then for Framber Valdez, he picked up a ton of double plays in this one. I believe he had 5 on the game. I mean, he was incredible. Just bang, bang, bang. I mean, I don't know how else you put it, because if it weren't for those double plays, the Astros probably would have lost this game. So Framber got a little lucky, but he picks up his 7th win of the year, and his season ERA is 3.84. So that brings us to the season record against the Blue Jays. The Astros, who won 2 of 3. If you saw my previous video, I previewed the other series this year at Minute Maid Park. When the Astros were 0-4, they took down the Blue Jays 2 out of 3, should have won all 3, and they were 2-5 to start the year. So to conclude this series, the Astros take 3 out of 4 against the Blue Jays, and they take the season series against them as well, 5-2. That's 5 games to 2 games, and the Astros are now 45-42 coming out of the Blue Jays series, and the Toronto Blue Jays are now 39-48 on the year. Unfortunate for them, but great for the Astros that they have a number 1 winning record, and then number 2, they took 3 out of 4 against the Blue Jays, as they are 5-2 on this current 10-game road trip. So worst comes to worst, no matter what happens, they'll finish at least 500 on the road trip. Obviously, I think the goal now is to at least be 7-3, if not 8-2, which would be a sweep of the Twins. But I think 7-3 is probably the most realistic path, which would put them at 47-43 on the year, headed home for the final 6 games before the All-Star break. So that brings us to Astros versus Twins. But first, we're going to go over what happened in the Astros versus Twins series earlier this year, at Minute Maid Park, which was May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd. Not too long ago, a little over a month ago, the Astros played the Twins. And Friday night starter Pablo Lopez pitched against the Astros, and well, he had a fair bit of success against them as the Twins took game one of that series 6-1. As they took game one, Ronel Blanco was not very good in that one. 4 2/3 innings of 4 earned runs. As I mentioned, the Twins won. The Astros' lone run of that game was an Alex Bregman solo home run. The Twins got home runs from Carlos Santana and Trevor Larnach as well. And the Twins won the game 6-1. The Astros were dominated by Pablo Lopez, 7 innings of 1-run baseball with 6 strikeouts. Pablo Lopez is a heck of a pitcher, and he's had a fair amount of success against the Astros since joining the Twins last year. So the Astros really need to jump on Lopez this time around, but I'll come back to that here in a little bit. That brings us to game 2 of the Astros versus Twins from earlier in the year, a little over a month ago. Framber Valdez opposed with Joe Ryan. Framber went 7 innings of 1-run ball, picking up his 4th win of the year at the time. And Joe Ryan went 5 innings, giving up all 5 of the runs the Astros scored in the game, picking up the loss. He was 4-4. Josh Hader earned his 8th save of the year at the time. Yordan Alvarez homered in this one. So did Jose Abreu at the time, which was his first home run of the year. And then Kyle Tucker added a home run. And, of course, Yordan Alvarez, if you remember, added a second home run in that game. He went 3 for 3, 2 runs scored, 2 homers, 3 RBIs. Kyle Tucker's highlighted home run as well. And then Brian Abreu gave up a run. And then Josh Hader pitched a scoreless 9th inning. That's 2 games down and 1 to go from the previous Astros versus Twins series. And that brings us to game 3, which the Astros choked away late. They had a 3-2 lead at one point, and, well, they choked it away, as I said. Simeon Woods Richardson was making his not Twins debut, but a debut in Minute Maid Park, where he is from Sugar Land, Texas. So it was a big homecoming for him. I know he had a lot of friends and family because I remember watching that game and they had a in-game interview with his family. It was phenomenal. Good for him. He went 4 1/3 and gave up 3 earned runs. So it's another homecoming against the Astros this time around, as he will be pitching. Spoiler alert, later in the video, I'll be talking about him here in a few minutes. So the Astros lost this game as their bullpen was not very good in this one, as, well, they were up 3-2 at one point in this one. Trevor Larnach got the Astros again, and this one with the home run. The Twins led 2-0 at one point. Victor Caratini hits a solo home run to right field to make it 2-1. Alex Bregman in the 3rd inning makes it 3-2 Astros with a 2-run shot to left center that scored Kyle Tucker. And then Jose Miranda would hit a homer to tie it at 3, and then Jose Miranda snake bites him again with an RBI double for what would be the winning run, 4-3. So that's the recap. The Twins take 2 of 3 against the Astros in the finale. So the Twins take 2 of 3 from the Astros to end the series there, and the Astros now face the Twins in Minnesota this time around. And that brings us to your Astros versus Twins series preview. And that's going to take us to game 1, which begins tonight. Your AOS standings update, as your Houston Astros, as of a couple weeks ago, were 10 games back behind the Seattle Mariners. But that is no more. Now, as you see on my screen here, the Astros are 45-42. The Mariners, who have played a couple more games than them, are 48-41. So they are ahead of the Astros by only 2 games. And the Texas Rangers are now 6 back from the Astros, way back in 3rd place at a 39-48 record. And then the Angels way back, and the Athletics even further back. The Athletics had a pretty hot start to the year, and now they've kind of fallen off a cliff, but they could even reach 70 wins for probably the first time in a long time, other than the 2020 season where they had a good year and the COVID shortened season. But good for the A's. They're 33-56. One of the series, 45-42 Houston Astros, second in the AL West, versus the Minnesota Twins, 49-38, second in the AL Central. That brings us to Sean Dubin. The Astros have yet another bullpen game tonight, as I'll go over Dubin's stats from the last bullpen game the previous Sunday. As Sean Dubin is 1-1 on the season, a 4.91 ERA, and 25 2/3 innings pitched. He spent some time in the big leagues and some time at AAA. He has 26 hits and 27 strikeouts. He needs to keep the walk number down and keep guys off base so he can get deep into this game because, like I said, it's a bullpen game for the Astros. His mound opponent is Pablo Lopez, the Twins' ace, though so far this year, other than just a couple of starts, he has not pitched too well like their ace, not his typical Pablo Lopez numbers. He's 8-6 with a 4.88 ERA, 94 innings, 88 hits, 110 strikeouts. Even his strikeout numbers are a little bit down from his typical numbers, at least last year. So that's another interesting thing. He's kind of been up and down. He'll have a 8 or 9 strikeout game, then 3, then 7, just kind of performances of those kind of caliber. So we'll go to Sean Dubin here. And Sean Dubin in his bullpen game / start, he was the official starting pitcher. He went 3 1/3 innings, no hits, no runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts through 55 pitches, and his season ERA is 4.91, though he has a 3.0 ERA since the month of June began. So Sean Dubin's been pitching pretty solid as of late, and we'll see what Sean Dubin brings to the table here tonight on Friday night later tonight. His mound opponent, Pablo Lopez, as I'm going to do something a little new, kind of show the pitching splits on the screen as kind of their latest games of how they've done recently and not just give you their most recent game. As you can see, over his last 5 starts, all in June, Pablo Lopez has a 5 ERA. In his previous 2 starts, he had 14 strikeouts against the A's and then 9 against the Mariners. In his previous start, he went 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, which was a solo homer, 9 strikeouts and 94 pitches, picking up his 8th win of the year. So that's something to keep an eye on. He's had 2 good starts in a row. And the question is, will it continue? Because he's kind of had a up and down season. I mean, there's no other way to put it, but it's been an up and down season. Hunter Brown will pitch for the Astros on Saturday afternoon, and his mound opponent will be Joe Ryan. Hunter Brown is 6-5 on the year with a 4.07 ERA. Don't let that ERA fool you. If you're any Twins fans potentially checking out my channel, like my video down below, comment, and feel free to subscribe because I'm going to be giving you a ton more baseball content, specifically Astros, and of course some football content to follow along later in the year when football season comes around, a little bit closer to when it comes around. But anyways, Hunter Brown, 6-5, a 4.07 ERA. Don't let it fool you. 86 1/3 innings pitched, 80 hits, and 94 strikeouts. The strikeout numbers have picked up as of late, just like Pablo Lopez. Joe Ryan, 5-5 in a battle of right-handed pitchers, a 3.21 ERA, 103 2/3 innings pitched, 85 hits, and 110 strikeouts. So their numbers as of late, as I pull them up, we've got Hunter Brown, who has 8 consecutive quality starts. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the last 6 of them here, as in his previous start against the Blue Jays, 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 5 strikeouts. You can see he's had strikeout games of 7, 6, 9, 7, and 7 as of late. Hunter Brown's been pitching phenomenal as he's picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight wins in his last 5 starts. So we'll see if he can pick up a 6th consecutive win along with get his 9th straight quality start on Saturday afternoon. And his mound opponent, Joe Ryan, As you can see here on the screen, how he's pitched as of late, he has a 3.68 ERA over the past month. And in his most recent start, it was a team win for the Minnesota Twins over the Seattle Mariners as he went 5 2/3, 6 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 10 strikeouts through 99 pitches, lowering his season ERA to 3.21. He has not picked up a win in his last 3 starts, though with the 3.21 ERA to have a 5-5 record, that's just kind of bad. Not necessarily for Joe Ryan, kind of bad for his team. The guy has closing in on under a 3 ERA and only to have 5 wins. That shows you he has not gotten very much run support yet this year. So hopefully for the Astros' sake that continues, and we'll see if it does or not on Saturday afternoon. I'll be watching, and we'll see if you are as well. That takes us to the rubber match of the series and the series finale between the two teams, at least in the regular season. They could meet in the postseason potentially, but we will see. That takes us to another battle of right-hander Spencer Arrighetti, the Astros rookie. He's 4-7 with a 6.13 ERA, 69 innings pitched, 75 hits, 80 strikeouts. And his mound opponent from Sugar Land, Texas, Simeon Woods Richardson, who would probably like some revenge on the Astros. As you know, if I'm from Sugar Land, I really would want the Astros to draft me. But, he's probably going to have a ton of motivation coming into this start. He is 3-1 with the 3.52 ERA, 71 2/3 innings pitched, 60 hits, and 60 strikeouts. Some of your offensive numbers down here. Ryan Jeffords, their catcher, continues his fantastic season. And Carlos Correa has a 3.11 average, and I'll get into him here in a minute. Ryan Jeffords probably going to be their all-star catcher, 14 homers, 237 average, and 46 RBIs. Kyle Tucker is now tied with Yordan Alvarez for the team lead in home runs. Jose Altuve leads the Astros with a 308 average. And then Yordan Alvarez leads the team tied for the team lead in homers with 19. And then the team leader with 49 RBIs. He's been on a heater since the month of June hit. June 1st, Yordan Alvarez has been definitely a top 10 hitter, and you can argue a top 5 hitter in baseball since then. A few of the offensive numbers, and I'll get to former Astros legend Carlos Correa here in a minute. But before then, here's Spencer Arrighetti's recent game logs. As you can see, 3 out of the last 4 starts, minus the Colorado one, have been a little shaky. Against Detroit, the 7 runs in less than 2 innings. The White Sox, one of the worst team in baseball, 4 1/3, 3 earned runs, not very good. The great start against Colorado, 10 strikeouts over 7, only 3 hits. But then he comes back and gives another clunker, 4 innings, 7 runs, 6 earned, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts against the Blue Jays. And his 7th loss of the year, his season ERA is 6.13, not good at all. So he's been up and down, up and down, up and down his last 4 starts, kind of. And you can even argue he's had, not even argue, it's the truth. He's had a lot worse outcomes than he has good outcomes lately. So Spencer Arrighetti needs a bounce-back start. And I'm not just talking about his great start against Colorado, who at the time was tied for the 2nd worst team in all of baseball when the Astros faced them last week. So Arrighetti needs to prove himself against a much tougher Twins team tonight. On Sunday afternoon against the Twins with his mound opponent, Simeon Woods Richardson. As I mentioned, he's from Sugar Land, Texas. And Simeon Woods Richardson, I mentioned his numbers last time against the Astros. And then since then, he gave up 1 run to the Pirates, 4 to the A's, 2 to Tampa Bay, 3 to Arizona, and he gave up 3 to Detroit in his last time out. So we'll see how Simeon Woods Richardson does. 5 2/3, 3 runs, 4 hits, all of them earned, and 4 strikeouts in his last time out. It's going to be an interesting matchup between 2 extremely young pitchers, Arrighetti and Simeon Woods Richardson. That's probably my most intriguing matchup is, will both teams have to go to the bullpen early on, or will one or both pitchers step up and try to give the teams at least 5 or 6 innings, maybe keep the game low scoring. I'm reaching towards, I would probably take the over in this game. It's probably going to be at like 7 or 8 runs. I'd probably lean towards the over with both pitchers, at least starting pitchers, likely to struggle in this one against two pretty good offenses. That's going to bring us to former Astros legend Carlos Correa. To give you a little insight on his season, he's probably going to be an all-star this year. He's hitting .311 with 10 homers and 41 RBIs and an .891 OPS. He's been really good for the Twins, other than a short stint on the IL early in the season. He's been fairly healthy for them, so good to see Carlos Correa have success. I just hope you don't have success against the Astros in this weekend series. But other than that, when you play the Astros in your career, best of luck to Correa. We loved him here in Houston. I know some people might have some hard feelings. I know somebody who does that's close to me who still hated that Correa left. But nonetheless, oh well, Correa's gone and the Astros have moved on, unfortunately. But he seems to be pretty happy in Minnesota. So best of luck to him the rest of his career in Minnesota and wherever else he may or may not play. So I gave you a ton of information in this video. And lastly, I'm going to give you my prediction. I predict the Astros are red hot. They've won 12 out of 14, and I think they take 2 out of 3 against the Twins. They find a way to win the games, and that would put them at 47 and 43 coming out of the Twins series, and then with the off day on Monday. And, of course, as I mentioned, they play the Marlins 4-3, and then the Rangers for 3 headed into the All-Star break. So that's my prediction. Astros take 2 out of 3 against the Twins. We'll see if it comes true or not here coming up in a few hours on Friday night for Game 1 of the series. That's going to wrap up the latest edition of Clark Crawford Sports. Feel free to like my videos down below, comment, let me know what you think of the current Astros. You like my videos. Give me your prediction for this weekend of how you think the games are going to go against the Twins. It's a tough team, a tough test, and the Astros will have certainly a few more tough tests later this year, and we'll see how they come out of this series. And, of course, subscribe to my channel. Subscribers are always great. Help me out. Hit that subscribe button on your phone, tablet, computer, TV, whatever you watch my videos on. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you in the next edition of Clark Crawford Sports for the Astros versus Marlins series preview. And, of course, I will give you an Astros versus Twins series recap as well.